Welcome back. So let's continue our sessions with the next one on benefits of the Gupta Team Developer 7x series with Martin.
Thank you very much, Ines. Let me switch to the presentation here. So I'm going to talk about the benefits of TD 7.0, 7.1, 7.2, 7.3. And as an additional goodie, I will give you a preview of Gupta Team Developer 7.4. So you will see some of the new features that are coming next year in just a few minutes. And of course, you can always put your questions in the Q&A tool and we will answer them after this session. So again, the Gupta Team Developer lifecycle. You saw the presentation by Steph on how much care we put into how quickly we release maintenance and service packs. But also this 5-year lifecycle gives you quite some time for each release of a product version at OpenText. Every release has 5 years of lifecycle. So that is very predictable for you and very good for planning. And you have seen this before, Team Developer 6.3 and older are out of engineering support. Out of engineering support means that it's unlikely that engineering will provide fixes if you encounter problems with these versions. It doesn't mean that they are totally out of support, but if you have questions, we can only help with the support team, but not with the engineering team. So the other versions, the latest version that we released was in January this year. Team Developer 7.3, which will be in engineering support until January 2025. And the 7.4 version will be in engineering support until 2026. So this is good for you for upfront planning. And also to note is that Team Developer 7.0 goes out of engineering support in October next year. So Agile low-code desktop software development. Team Developer 7.0 brought you the 64-bit world, so you could use more resources in your applications. You had the new REST API, grid filtering, new status bar for Windows objects. So a number of new things came with 7.0. In 7.1, we provided multi-threading, so you could make applications more usable, so the user wouldn't be blocked if long-running computations were going on. Very much requested, and I think I used a lot as well. We also introduced source code control, so you can use source code control right from the application. You have the custom theme and a lot more and many enhancements to the active coding assistant. With 7.2, sorry, code profiling, so you were capable of analyzing what's going on in your code, basically. You are doing software development, we are doing software development. In this case, this is for you to analyze the code that you or your team members have written and find out if there are bottlenecks and things like that. We have the low-code REST wizard there, which basically takes in a JSON, a REST or a web service URL and creates the UDV required to convert the JSON data into a Team Developer UDV. We had many new APIs, a new modern theme, and report designer enhancements. In 7.3, we have responsive layout, which was very well received again. So you could increase the amount of information that goes onto one window. Very important with high definition or ultra high definition displays that are becoming more and more common in the marketplace. You got an enhanced mail API and many more APIs for modern transactions. So let's look at the 7.0 main benefits. With 64-bit applications, you had more room for application growth. You have more resources available for applications. You can use more memory, you can use more application objects, and you can integrate your application with other 64 components like Office 64, for example, and create an application environment in plain 64-bit. Programming and enhancement, you had support for overloaded functions, so you can have multiple functions with the same name but a different parameter signature. You have code encapsulation, where you have public and protected class variables and class functions, so that in your team it is easier to use the class libraries that you have created for your own use. Calling REST services has become very important. OpenText is providing REST services basically for every product they sell, including the Exceed TurboX remote access product that you will see this afternoon. And you could basically use Team Developer or TD Mobile to create applications that access any other OpenText products functionality via a REST API. And you can also, in Team Developer 7.0, we added the capability for you to provide JSON web services. So you can provide web services that return the data in a JSON format instead of XML format. For Team Developer 7.0, you can view several videos on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. So how to do 64-bit applications, how to handle the REST API, the new OOP features, and the new UX features. In Team Developer 7.1, we had foremost multi-threading, so increase application usability, increase user productivity by eliminating wait times. So basically avoid the hourglass that comes up when you're either accessing the database or you're doing long-running computations or preparing data for a report, something like that. And you can all put these actions into one or multiple threads, and you can create always responsive applications. So compute things simultaneously, parallel computing, so to speak, for Team Developer. In Team Developer 7.1, we also added source control. So we basically integrated the most popular source control systems, Subversion, Git, and Microsoft Team Foundation server right into the IDE, and developers can download versions from their source code repositories right into Team Developer. They can make commits to their changes and put that into their team source management solution, which is very handy and very productive. And in Team Developer 7.1, we also created the ability for you to create your own theme. We had the themes, I think, since Team Developer 5.2, likely more than 10 years ago now. And with the 7.1, you can create your own theme and manipulate all the visual aspects of a Team Developer application. On YouTube, we also have a video on YouTube for Team Developer 7.1. There's a summary video, Team Developer 7.1 features and benefits for you. And we will, of course, give you all these presentations, so you can easily click all the links that I provided in these presentations here. In Team Developer 7.2, we provided you with code analytics, so you can profile your applications to detect performance issues. For example, analyze the execution times of single functions and entire code blocks. So you could drill down into your own source code and see if under certain circumstances or in general there were functions that we provide or functions that you provided or have developed did use more time than you thought they would, or resulted in a delay for the user. And with these code analytics and, for example, the thread support, you can solve a situation like that. That's just one example, of course, but you can find out what's going on in your application in detail. in Team Developer 7.2, we provided many new APIs and wizard, the low-code REST wizard that turns TD UDVs into JSON strings and vice versa. JSON strings have become, excuse me, the primary format for sending information between software services. So if you have a software product and you want to provide an API access to that software product, you likely will use JSON as the data interchange format because it's more lightweight than the previously used XML format, which transmits a lot more metadata, I would say. So you get ultra simple calling of REST services. You just put in either the JSON string or the URL for the REST service, and we will create the UDV for you. And with having the UDV, it's just a matter of using one call to call a REST service and send data to a REST service or to receive data from a REST service into a Team Developer application. So we also have many new APIs in 7.2. For example, REST with authentication. So we can use OAuth 2 to authenticate to a REST service. We introduced notifications in the Team Developer 7.2, and we later enhanced those to be provide more Windows 10 features, but that will be in 7.3, I think. And we have provided a very powerful new string API with regular expressions, where you can search strings for expressions. You can extract credit card numbers. You can do all sorts of things. You can test a string if it's a valid email address and a lot more. So regular expressions are a very powerful tool for strings and available since 7.2. So we also have enhanced reporting in Team Developer 7.2. The report builder product now includes the .NET report designer product, so your users can customize .NET reports that you have created. In .NET, you can use, in Team Developer.NET, you can use the report designer reports, and those are available in TD Mobile as well. The report designer reports are a new way of doing reports because to execute them, you just have one function call. You basically send in arrays of data, the report variables and all these things in one function call. There are no messages going on and nothing like that, like what you have with the usual GUI-bound report builder reports. And then that report executes, and at the end you get a PDF file, or you can print that report. In Report Designer, we've added watermarks and conditional formatting in Team Developer 7.2 as well. So powerful .NET reporting in Team Developer 7.2. For Team Developer 7.2, we also have 2 videos on our YouTube channel, Team Developer 7.2 features and benefits, and a code profiling video. Now let's look at the Team Developer 7.3 version that was released earlier this year in January. The benefits here. Responsive layout, so you can basically leverage high definition and ultra high definition displays for Team Developer applications, but also for, let's say, if you want to use cloud remote access for Team Developer and you want to use the OpenText Exceed TurboX product to access Team Developer applications, then you can do that from an iPad or an iPad Pro, and iPad Pros have huge resolutions, probably more than UHD. And if you want to leverage the entire screen size for application information and want to leverage that to provide more data to your user, you can do that using the responsive layout of Team Developer 7.3. In Team Developer 7.3, we did also enhance the code profiling by several customer requested features that made a lot of sense. You basically have a new highly functional profiling viewer that lets you easier sort by the data that you receive from the code profile file. You can sort by columns, group and columns and things like that. And more importantly, you get APIs to define your own execution blocks, so you can measure exactly, self-defined code segments and see how they perform in the execution file. And you can also enter annotations into the code profile at runtime, so to say, now I'm doing this, now I'm doing that, for example. Or what I've seen, what Helmut has done actually is at the beginning, when the code profiling starts, he uses annotations to insert all the details of the machine, like available memory, operating system version, team developer version, and things like that. So when a support person looks at that code profile, they can make lots of sense out of that code profile. And in Team Developer 7.3, we did also add many new APIs. We updated our SAL mail class library to include the latest TLS 1.2 encryption and OAuth encryption, so that you can communicate with Google Mail, for example, in a more trusted way. We created an API to create hash values. You might have noticed that when you download Team Developer service packs or Team Developer versions from OpenText My Support, that we do always now display a 256-bit hash for every download file, so you can verify that that file didn't change while you downloaded it, or that nobody did an HTML injection and made you download something that wasn't a true Team Developer file. And with this hash API, you can basically calculate hash values on your own using Team Developer. And in Team Developer 7.3, I mentioned that before, more powerful Windows 10 notification support. So you can now have in Windows 10, you have that sidebar on the right side mostly, where the notifications appear, and you can react on the click on a specific notification. So a user clicks on one, let's say he has received three notifications from the application. He can click on each of them, and each click will execute a different action. So that is very nice now in the notification API of Team Developer 7.3. Team Developer 7.3 on YouTube. You have the features and benefits video on YouTube, and you have an enhanced code profiling video on YouTube for TD 7.3. Now let's have a look into the future. Gupta Team Developer 7.4. We did briefly touch that in the roadmap presentation, but let me share you some more details. So with Team Developer 7.4, you will get new loop options. We have new for each loops. We have a continuous statement to continue loop execution. We used to always have the break statement, which breaks out of the loop, but now you have a continuous statement where you can just step into the next iteration of the loop. Reporting enhancements, you can insert a PDF file after report page, duplex printing, you can print an existing PDF file, and more. So basically mesh reporting, that's what titled that. You get new UX options. You can increase and decrease the size of window contents, zoom in and zoom out. So that was the second, let's say, window layout related feature wish from our customer base. You get responsive layout for .NET and ribbon bar classes, so that entire windows are now covered by classes, and you can use ribbon bar classes in your object-oriented programming. So programming enhancements for each loops, continuous statement. Now here the reportings in a little more detail. PDF or TIFF files between report pages. PNG image transparency is being taken care of. User image orientation data is being taken care of. Conditional display for the picture control is available. You have support for more break groups, 16 before you had 8. You get duplex printing, so you can basically say to use the duplex feature in the printer right from the reporting API. and you have an API to send a PDF file to the printer. UX enhancements in 7.4. You get responsive layout features, control anchoring for .NET applications, control anchoring for toolbars, and ribbon bar class. Well, that isn't a responsive layout feature, but it's a UX enhancement. And as I mentioned before, window zooming. So if you're getting older, you need to increase the fonts of your screen, then this is a perfect feature to use. And the deployment enhancements with TD 7.4, you will be able to create MSI installers for Win32, Win64 applications, just like we have for .NET applications. And you can sell your TD applications via the Microsoft Store because we are compliant to the requirements of software on the Microsoft Store. And with that, here's one more, the IDE enhancements, combined find and search dialog, which is a killer, of course. Okay, so here's the Team Developer 7.4 preview. And now I'd like to take you on a quick view into this new release. So for each loops, let's see that I start the right Team Developer here. I do have a 64-bit version of Team Developer 7.4 installed. Yeah, that's the 7.4 version here. And let me open the for each test application. Let me run it first, then it will become clear what it does. So it's basically two nested loops that execute, to string concatenation that then shows here in that list box. So you have here the first bar on the first level of the loop, and then the second level of the loop. We just create, concatenate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into that string here. And now let's have a look at that here. So here you see the outer for each myvar iter in myvar array. So this is the single instance of the UDV. So this is a bit of a complex example already, where we are using a UDV array. This is the UDV array, and this is the UDV without array. And in that loop, we do have another for each loop, and that then is with this array and this element. And let me see. So you see the inner loop is just a string variable and a string array, and the outer loop is a myvar. So these are classes, functional classes, UDVs that are being used for the outer loop. And now you've seen that. Let me show you that again, how that looks. 1, 2, 3, 4, and now I show you that that really works and isn't made up. Here below, application actions, on some app startup. I do have a number of more elements that I can uncomment. Let me uncomment these and execute the application again. And then we should have, what should happen is that we have many more entries here in that list box, because I just doubled the amount of member variables in my UDV array. And as you can see, it's not going to 10, it's going up to 20 now. So this is the little lookout to for each arrays, for each loops in Team Developers 7.4. Now there we go. And now I closed it, so let's, oops. Let me show you the date picker feature as well here. You can now set a date picker control and pass it in an array of elements that should be highlighted. So basically, you want to show, for example, the dates of a vacation flat that you rent, and several dates are already taken. Then you can mark these dates using this new function here. And let me just show that. I don't think that's an exciting, it's just one call basically. So first I start with selecting several dates here on the left side. Yeah, create a nice structure here. That. Now I get the selected dates go into this grid column here, and with set selected, and that's a new thing here, these will be set into the date picker as selected dates. So this is the I can show you that as well. Let me just quickly set selected, and it's just color set selected dates, and you pass in a array of type date. So very easy but powerful feature. And now let's have a look at the next one, which is window zooming. Let me start the 32-bit version of that application of Team Developer now, Team Developer 7.4. And let me load my sample. Let's run that. And I think you kind of remember that sample because I showed that at last year's developers conference, demonstrating control anchoring, basically allowing this here, that you can display more information when the user increases the size of the application window. And now I told you, if you get older, up to 50 you can use 100%, with 60 you may need 125%. 65, maybe 150, and so on. And the nice thing is that this also works with control anchoring. And you have a zooming range of 100 to 400 that you can use in Team Developer. Let me show you the application code. If you click on one of these buttons, that's basically just this function here called zal zoom window, and you can decide if just the application window, just the current window will be zoomed, or the entire application. For the entire application, you would provide HWND null here, and this is the zooming factor can be 100 to 400. So just click again, zoom your applications to be able to better read that if that is required. Okay, and then there's one more thing left for Team Developer 7.4 to show. Report Builder 16 break groups. Let me start Report Builder 7.4 and open and report. So here's a report now that has, in preview mode, that has 16 break groups here, down 1 to 6, each indented a bit more, and that is one of the content rows. And now if I go to report design, you can see that I have 16 break group headers here in my report. Then I have the detail block here, and then I have 16 break group footers and my page footer. So a customer requested feature to make Report Builder a lot more powerful. And we know that customers are using Report Builder to create very powerful reports. Some creating like thousands of reports in a batch with very complicated data and layouts. So we know it's being used, and that is a nice power addition to the Report Builder features. And with that, we are in the question part for Team Developer 7.x, including 7.4.
Okay, thank you, Martin. There is, sorry for the echo, so there's one question that came in regarding the date picker. Is it possible to show the calendar week?
Yes, the date picker can show the calendar week, and it also respects the calendar week notation of your locale, because calendar weeks start at different days in North America and Europe, for example. Yes, that has been taken into account.